Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm very grateful to look now to Moldova in our project and to talk to Ms. Dorina Rosca. She is a researcher, also she is the head of the Business Administration and Marketing Department at the American University of Moldova, and she is also affiliated in leading positions in France, such as the European Institute for Development Studies. And I'm very happy now to talk about the developments, the great events 30 years ago and the legacy we have right now. And of course, we're also talking about the recent developments with the war from Russia against Ukraine. But coming back first, dear Dorina, to the legacy, to the events, also to the economic dimension of these events, because basically the communism, or the end of communism, is also caused because of the economic collapse. So basically, what do you think from today's perspective? What stays as a legacy?
Well, I think, thank you first of all for your invitation and for your questions. Well, speaking about the legacy of the events in 1989, 1991 in Europe, I think that we should take into account, first of all, the peaceful character, and this is particularly true in the today situation, right? In the today context. I think this is one important moment, this peaceful character of the transformation of Eastern Europe at that moment. And from my point of view, this is a great achievement at the time, because using force at that moment would have been, I guess, ineffective, and probably it would be a political suicide for the reformers, and particularly for Gorbachev. And I'm thinking about the view that Gorbachev has about the socialist system and the different measures he put in place to achieve with perestroika, both domestically and internationally. So from this point of view, I think this peaceful character, it's a great achievement and a great legacy from those transformations. Speaking about Moldova, politically in Moldova, this step was inevitable, and basically it was a consequence of the domino effect, right? Because events happened in 1991 in Moldova. Well, it started in 1988, 89, but at that time, it was particularly a consequence of the domino effect. And even if there was too much tension, basically. Too much tension had accumulated, like the economy of shortage, which was wreaking havoc, and the rigidity of the monolith of power, which fed a lot of frustration among the cultural elite. Nevertheless, we benefited from this domino effect. At the same time, all this frustration accumulated among cultural elites have how to say, allowed those elites to play an important, a crucial, let's say like this, role in this process of change. And this is because basically those cultural elites always shared a volatile border with the political power.
Mm-hmm. You talked now about the domino effect. The domino effect is also the consequence of the failure of the communist regime, or even more of the totalitarian age in the 20th century. So we should keep that in mind. But how we should keep that in mind when we are talking about European memory politics in these days? What do you think?
In the European memory politics, well, I think it is an important element to be taken into account when we speak about when we evaluate, let's say, like this, the role of different actors in the process of change. Taking it into account can allow us to better understand the role played by different kind of actors in this process, and it allows us to mystify or demystify things and actors.
Mm-hmm. We had a golden age in the 90s in terms of development, enlargement of the democracies, and now many people are afraid again in this year 2022, not just because of the Russian war against Ukraine, but also against the West, against Europe, but also in terms of the welfare. Do you think that there will be a change out of our welfare societies, at least in Western Europe? And what do you think, how much this new situation, the struggle about trade, energy, will affect us?
I think we are already affected by this new context, which is generated by the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, war, and we already started to struggle the energetic difficulties. The economic issues and so forth. So I think the situation we should be prepared to an important shift of our contemporary models of development. And I'm speaking about models because I think there are each national model has its own particularities. In some countries, economy is more dependent of the Russian gas. In other, maybe less, and so forth. So we need to be prepared. To shift to another kind of path of development, to accelerate the energetic transition, and to take into account this new factor, which for the moment will provoke a crisis. All the thing is to be able to manage this crisis, because crisis there will be a crisis, and there is a crisis.
But what do you what would you recommend? We see the situation that even a country such as Germany is, in terms of energy, very much dependent from Russia. They made themselves dependent, Nord Stream 2, for example. And how can we also basically provide the help from European Union? Or is there also a shift needed from the European Union, and is also a shift needed in Moldova, also that you see this threat from Russia very closely? So what would you recommend? What should we do as policymakers?
To Moldova, recommendation for Moldova, or for
both, for Moldova plus for the European countries, maybe as another one, and thirdly from the European Union itself. Yeah?
Well, there are now 100 of ways in this situation. Unfortunately, for the moment, we need to think about some reserves, and in order to be able to manage the immediate crisis, and obviously we need to accelerate the energetic transition. This is a must, actually, and I saw the Moldovan government already started to think about the energetic transition, because there are new rules which are discussed today in order to facilitate this energetic transition, to help people to manage all this process of change.
There's a hope now for Moldova, right? The EU leaders have granted now, the 1st of June, the candidate status. Is there the hope? Is there the vision that you're becoming the EU membership? And what would this mean for Moldova? How would you evaluate that?
Well, of course, it's symbolically speaking, it's an important step in the evolution in the path of the Republic of Moldova, and of course it is viewed as an important step in this developing path here in Chisinau. In some circles, this good news was perceived even euphoristically. But we understand that this decision is a symbolic step that I think reflects, first of all, the EU's political signal to this region, which is a troubled region, right? Because I think according to the EU's criteria, I think it could take Moldova years to qualify for an effective, for an actual membership. But I prefer to see this the half full of the grass, let's say, because the half full of the grass is that I hope this new statute will help Moldova to move forward in adopting innovative regulations, in fighting corruption, in setting down a more or less attractive political environment for new investments, which I think are really crucial for the development of the Republic of Moldova. So it's a hope, let's say like this.
When the war has started, and following also the statements Vladimir Putin made, how was the feeling in Moldova? Did you feel this the concrete threat, or still you're feeling that that Russia could also invade here, or how is the general opinion now about the danger?
Well, it was well, of course, we are here very close to the conflict, and we fear a war, a conflict, an invasion. We discussed a lot about, with my colleagues, we discussed a lot about the probability of an invasion in Moldova, and all my colleagues accord to say that logically we should not be concerned by an invasion, right? The problem is that a war is illogical, an illogical process, act, and so forth. So there is no place for logics in this situation. So of course, here in Chisinau we can hear. Physically, we can hear what happens near to the border, and of course it's a little bit scary, yeah. And we have also this the Transnistrian conflict, Transnistrian region, which is the uncontrolled territory of the Republic of Moldova, and which is controlled by Russian forces, by Russian army. So of course it is not really safe for us, let's say like this.
Thank you for these insights, which also is a very big concern here in Estonia. Bringing this picture a bit in a broader global perspective, there was a statement from the Estonian, he's actually composer and is also writing a lot of interesting articles. Juri Reinwehr is his name, and he basically said that just the way Ukraine is doing, Ukraine is successfully only in dealings with Western countries. Africa and Asia are much more likely to listen to the Kremlin narrative. And we also have to talk about the role of China, the role of India. So how would you say, also in the framework of the victory of the West, 1989, 1990, 1991, now this new geopolitics maybe, and this shift which we are facing right now, and how dramatic you see this?
Well, once again, I believe that we are all threatened in one way or another. If, for instance, for a territory like the Republic of Moldova, threaten is physical, is immediate. It could be immediate. Sorry. For the others, there are indirect effects of this conflict, economic, energetic effects, and so forth. I think we all are concerned today by this context, by this new geopolitical situation, and we should all consider it seriously and carefully. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that Moldova still has to implement a lot of reforms, also in the perspective of a possible EU accession. What do you think? How basically the European Union can help to implement these reforms? And which reforms are basically needed?
Well, we need reforms everywhere and in every field, if you prefer. We need economic reforms. We need to reform the justicial system and regime and so forth. So we need social reforms. We need healthcare reforms. We need to build infrastructures and so forth. Educational reform. I'm very concerned by the educational let's say not degradation, but there is a failure in the educational system, and I think we need at each level of the system reforms. And of course, European Union can play a crucial role, first of all, by transferring knowledge, good practices, but also by financing those reforms, because without money we cannot accomplish an important shift in our model of development. And this new statute of candidate to the membership, to the EU membership, means a change in our path of development, and this change should be done and can be done only with the support of the European Union, technical support and financial support.
Last but not least, the youngsters were a very important part of the Baltic chain and also of the events which happened in Berlin with the fall of the wall and also with the peaceful revolutions. What can be done now to bring a new enthusiasm under the young people? What would you think? Are they sad? Are they resignated in nowadays world? Or how can you basically bring them also some hope for their lives now? What do you think, and how is the situation of the young people in Moldova at the moment?
This is a challenge for the Republic of Moldova because we are facing the immigration phenomenon, and when a young woman or a young boy do not like his life here, and finds inconsistencies in his own aspirations and the opportunities provided by the system, he just leave the country. And this is a generalized phenomenon, and unfortunately, and from this point of view, this is a challenge for the Republic of Moldova. But I think we can change it, but not overnight. This cannot be an immediate effect. Changing. Why? Because we can change it only through education. I'm really convinced that only the education can help us to make people, to make young people understand that they can invest themselves here in the Republic of Moldova, that they can have a good life here in the Republic of Moldova. But for this, we need to start by providing qualitative studies to young people. We need to show them that we have the capacity to improve things, to involve them actively, to make them active actors in this changing process. Not only only beneficiaries or passive actors, but active actors of those processes. And in this case, I think in the long run we can change something. But in the short run, unfortunately, the strategy is to leave the country. And that's all.
Dear Dorina, thank you very much for your insights. It was very important that you described the situation right now in these difficult times in Moldova, and also you pointed very clearly out that we need young activists, young people who are demonstrating for the freedom of expressions, who are demonstrating against injustice and totalitarian regimes. And that's why we need the voice for Moldova. Thank you very much.